Thanks for joining us today to learn about the annual copyright license for higher education from CCC, a single multi-use license that includes reuse rights to thousands of publishers and millions of works for your entire institution. Created in partnership with colleges and universities, the license is designed to meet unique copyright challenges faced by today's academic institutions, providing users campus-wide with the copyright permissions they need in a single license, regardless of where instruction is taking place, on campus or online. Oops. See if I can advance my slides. I want to start by telling you a little bit about CCC in case you are not familiar with us. CCC sits between rights holders, which is a broad category for publishers, authors, agents, and creators, and content users. On the content user side, we offer annual copyright licenses for businesses, academic institutions, assessment developers, and most recently, we introduced a license which enables ed tech and core and supplemental curriculum development companies, as well as state departments of education and school districts in K-12 to incorporate excerpts of published works in curriculum and instructional materials. CCC provides copyright licensing and content solutions for the world's most sought after books, journals, magazines, newspapers, and more. For over 2 decades, CCC has served academic institutions of all types and sizes by providing solutions that enable educators, librarians, staff, and those that serve the academic market to use and share published works to enrich instruction, all while managing copyright compliance. CCC serves as a thought leader on copyright-related issues, providing educational programs that serve both copyright holders and the people who use their works. As a not-for-profit organization, CCC aims to simplify licensing of published works for use in academic settings while compensating publishers and creators for the use of their works. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do for academic institutions of higher education. CCC offers integrated licensing and content solutions that make it easy for faculty, researchers, staff, and students to access and share copyrighted works. And the focus today, of course, is on the annual copyright license for higher education, but I'll touch a little bit on our pay-per-use services. And if any of you have used our pay-per-use services on copyright.com in the past, all those services now reside on Marketplace. And that's at marketplace.copyright.com. So feel free to check that site out if you haven't already. Get It Now is an academic document delivery service that complements your interlibrary loan program by providing your patrons with the immediate fulfillment of full text articles from unsubscribed journals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get It Now is your best source for the articles your patrons need once you exceed ILL borrowing limitations such as the Rule of 5. And finally, CCC's educational programs help raise the level of copyright awareness across campus with faculty, staff, and students alike. So we know that colleges and universities depend on quite a bit of information. It's essential for every institution, from classroom all the way to the president's office. But when that information is copyright protected, it can be challenging to ensure that faculty, researchers, and other staff members have the rights they need to use and share it. Several years ago at CCC, our customers started asking us about a solution for the entire institution that would allow them to more readily share material and reduce the amount of work required to get individual permissions to use copyrighted works. The license was really developed by colleges and universities, for colleges and universities. More than 400 individuals, ranging from presidents and provosts to academic deans, librarians, and faculty, representing over 50 academic institutions, provided input in the development of the annual copyright license for higher education. Based on this collective input, the license was born. So while your faculty and staff are using and sharing copyrighted material around campus and online on a daily basis, you certainly can't be there all the time to ensure that they have the necessary permissions. Fortunately, with the annual copyright license, you don't have to. A license helps achieve your institution's educational objectives because it encourages the free flow of information. Students, faculty, researchers, and others who need to access information in order to learn, create, teach, and innovate. The annual copyright license is a single institution-wide license for US-based institutions. You pay one annual fee for the term of the license. It provides a uniform set of reuse rights across more than 2,000 publishers, magazine publishers, book publishers, journal publishers, etc. And the license extends beyond the four walls of the institution, covering distance education. So students studying abroad at international campuses, they'd be covered. The license also includes a waiver of claims from rights holders for any past or prior copyright infringement. And finally, the license provides operational efficiencies through check and go permissions, which I'll talk about a little later on. So what does the license cover? At a high level, the license provides comprehensive campus-wide coverage, allowing librarians, researchers, faculty, administrators, and staff to use and share text-based copyrighted works, reducing the need for one-off copyright permissions. Specifically, the license covers course packs, both print and digital, classroom handouts, traditional and electronic reserves, and electronic course content such as learning management systems, so postings to Blackboard, Canvas, Moodle, D2L, and other popular platforms is covered, as well as intranet postings or internal email, say between faculty and staff and students. One great feature of the license is this research collaboration, faculty to faculty sharing, researcher to researcher sharing. Our rights holders acknowledge that the way a lot of new content is created, especially for journal articles or new textbook chapters, is through faculty to faculty sharing and sharing among researchers. So when we talk about the reuse rights that the license offers, it really is internal sharing in your institution with one small exception. If you have faculty working on a research project with other faculty at other institutions, works from your university or college's collection may be shared externally on this limited project basis. So we've heard good reactions to that ability. The license allows you to scan paper copies of works when electronic version is not available. So think about older pieces in your collection that weren't born digital. You can scan them under this license. One thing to point out is that the license does not include any right to create a library or collection intended to substantially replace a user's need for a particular work. I also mentioned a little bit earlier this waiver of unasserted prior claims of infringement by registered rights holders. I just want to make sure I pointed that out once more. So there are some content uses that the license doesn't cover, and this list is much shorter. External, promotional, and advertising use. This license is pretty much meant for internal use, internal content sharing. Interlibrary loan. This is one that we get the most questions about. ILL or document delivery. ILL borrowing and distribution, as well as document delivery by the institution's library or libraries, are not covered under the license. You need to think of this as content acquisition. The basic premise of the annual copyright license is that you have one legally obtained copy of an article. The license kicks in and gives you the reuse rights once you've obtained a copy. So once you obtain a copy through interlibrary loan, you just need to verify that the work is covered by the license, and then faculty and staff can share that work. The third item, the reproduction of the entire work is prohibited unless specifically noted by the rights holder. A question we occasionally get from the English language arts team is around cover-to-cover copying. Let's say it's a short story. Few rights holders are going to be too keen on allowing someone to copy an entire work, which could in fact replace the need for someone to purchase a copy. If that were to happen and the faculty member really insists upon needing those rights for an entire short story for instruction, we can work directly with the rights holder to see if they'll make an exception in that case. And as I mentioned previously, the license does not include any right to create a library, collection, or repository that would replace the institution's need for a particular work or subscription. So let's talk a little bit more about the license coverage. Filling gaps in your coverage. So license coverage often varies from publisher to publisher. So if you have individual subscription agreements, can cause this effect that we sometimes refer to as a Swiss cheese effect, and that there's gaps in your coverage across publishers. And if you look at this example here, this chart, if you have 4 publishers, and then you have the types of rights that are available, you'll see that they're not uniformly granted. What the annual copyright license does is it covers you for all those uses, and it fills all those gaps with a consistent set of terms, a consistent set of reuse rights across thousands of publishers. It's a huge benefit of the license. So the license complements your subscriptions. So what it does is it provides a separate, distinct agreement with rights to reuse copyrighted content from titles in our license repertory. And again, that repertory has rights and titles from more than 2,000 publishers. It's millions of rights. It's a consistent set of rights from thousands of publishers, and rights that are sometimes unavailable from publisher agreements. Aggregators will fill in with this license. One thing to point out, and it's a very important point, is that the license provides the rights to reuse copyrighted content. It doesn't provide the content itself. You would need to have a legally obtained copy, whether that's something that you bought at the bookstore or through some other means. Once you had that, then the license kicks in and covers you for that use. Kind of continuing on this idea of filling in gaps, rounding out coverage. This graphic here illustrates the idea of a web of rights. And this concept was explained to us by Georgia Harper. She was a retired copyright attorney and academic librarian from the University of Texas, Austin. And looking around the circle, starting at the top, Georgia talked about the various ways in which the university accessed content. And she said that they had content subscriptions, that faculty certainly created their own content. There's open access materials. They had direct deals with some publishers. And in some cases, they could make a fair use argument for some materials, but really only on a per article or per chapter basis. And of course, we end up here with public domain. And some public domain content may be valuable if you're, say, teaching history. So all of that said, it would be someone's full-time job to go back and verify whether they have the rights to certain content. So Georgia said, we're going to purchase the annual copyright license to sit over the top and connect this web of all these different types of reuse rights. To say that we feel confident that through this web of rights, we have coverage for our faculty and staff to teach their courses, and the students are able to meet their learning objectives. We were happy to get that feedback from Georgia, and the University of Texas system is covered by the annual copyright license and has been for many years. So let's talk a little bit about who's in the repertory, which publishers are in the license. And this is just a sampling of the text-based publishers that participate today. Our catalog contains a wide array of publications from journals, newspapers, magazines, newsletters, books, and more. And the publishers are just as diverse. We have hundreds of university presses, such as Columbia, Cornell, MIT, Oxford. Book and journal publishers you may know, such as Elsevier, Houghton Mifflin, Lippincott Williams, and Wilkins, content that is important if you have a nursing or health sciences program. You'll see Nature, Sage, John Wiley, to name a few. We also have the major newspapers such as the Boston Globe and the New York Times, and USA Today, which is popular with some faculty we hear who appreciate the concise articles and the clean graphics. And just so you know, wherever you are in the US, your local newspaper is likely owned by one of the large newspaper publishing conglomerates. So we likely have their content in the license as well. Over the years, as we spoke with more schools, we learned that many of the society and association presses were important as well. For example, one law school said, can you get Michigan Law Review? That's important to us. Medical schools, nursing schools, and health sciences schools said we need the American Psychological Association or the American Medical Association. And we worked with the publishers, our rights holder relations team worked with the publishers to bring them onto the license. That team, that rights holder relation team is constantly adding new publishers and titles to license. And if there are publishers that you're interested in, or just let us know, and we can make every effort to try and recruit those publishers into the license. No promises, but we've been able to do that before. Okay, so I mentioned a little bit earlier about pay-per-use permissions and the sort of administrative burden it puts on schools to do this on a one-off basis, for faculty members across the campus. We've been talking about a single comprehensive license, like the annual copyright license, but I want to step back and just talk a little bit about the challenges of getting copyright permissions on an individual basis. And in discussions we've had over the years with academic librarians, some would walk us through this process and tell us how much time it took. And you can see here that we've broken down these tasks and added, the duration of time it took. So they would say, okay, well, we log on to Marketplace and we get in there and we search for a publication and we get the results and we get a price and we see if it meets budget requirements for that department or faculty member. And if it's a go, then we purchase permissions by filling in some data fields. And then we post or distribute or photocopy that content. And then 60 days after the start of term, we account for any student adds, drops in the course, or number of copies. And at the end of the semester, we reconcile the invoices and forward to accounts payable. And then at the end of the term, we take down the content because it's only available on a semester basis. So the librarian said doing this may only take around 7 minutes and 45 seconds. If you look at freshman or sophomore level courses that are taught fall term, spring term, you might be talking 15 minutes or longer for just one piece of content. And we know that faculty members like to pull in more than one piece of content and ask for permission. So this could equate to a lot of time spent pursuing permissions on a one-off basis. And this is where the license really, is the return on the investment. The license gives you back that valuable time traditionally spent on pursuing permissions every single semester. The license greatly reduces the total time and cost for searching for, obtaining, and managing copyright permissions. If you have a license, you don't need to take down content from your learning management system at the end of the term. So long as you hold a license, you can keep that course material intact in your LMS. And we've heard from many of our licensees that having that flexibility is great. I want to tell you a little bit about this idea of check and go permissions. So I mentioned that the license gives you back valuable time. So upon adoption of the annual copyright license, we will create a right-find academic account for you. And this online tool will help you quickly verify license coverage. And really just collapse the time it took in my previous slide where we're doing this on an individual basis. Just taking a quick look at the screen, you'll notice a very clean Google-like interface, very simple. Here you can search by publication title or standard number, ISBN or ISSN, for the content that you wish to verify coverage of for. You click the magnifying glass, and then you're presented with this rights summary page. And we'll just kind of hang out here for a second. Here you can quickly determine whether a piece of content is covered by the CCC license. In this example, for nature, I'm presented with the metadata at the top. So I get publication type and the standard number, the publisher, and various other bits of metadata. And then you'll see two green check marks. In this case, it's a sort of happy path. You're getting granted permission to share nature content, both digitally or in photocopies. So just looking at digital sharing for a moment, it's a little bit difficult to see, but some examples of how you could use this content. You could use it in an e-course pack or electronic reserves, learning management system. You could email a copy of the work within your institution, display in a presentation. On the photocopy sharing side, you could photocopy for course pack, photocopy for classroom handouts, print copies to share with coworkers. So in a very quick snapshot, at a glance, you know you're good to go. And so again, it greatly reduces the amount of time spent pursuing and verifying coverage. And you can imagine the time savings here. I'm showing you the happy path of the green check marks, but you may in some cases get results that say, well, certain publisher terms apply. So you could click into what those terms are, and each publisher will detail very clearly what those terms are. You may get kind of a Ghostbusters red slash that says not currently covered, in which case you could contact us, our customer service, and we can try and get that right added or that publisher to participate. There may be some cases where you're instructed to contact the rights holder directly. We certainly, that won't pop up that much, but in some cases, publishers want to specifically know how you intend to use the content. But you won't see too many of those because contacting rights holders directly is not what you want to do. That takes time. That takes a lot of back and forth. If you need a permission that falls outside the scope of the license, you can go to Marketplace at marketplace.copyright.com and search for and get permissions there. So this is the tool that comes with the license. It's called RightFind Academic, and it's free. And as soon as you sign up for the license, you get access and we create an account for you. So it's a really neat tool to just quickly verify coverage and move on. So now I just wanted to show you just the screen of logos, and this is just a sampling of some of our licensed institutions. I show you this slide to show you the range of licensees that we have. The annual copyright license is used by hundreds of campuses across the country, all types of sizes of institutions. This sampling of institutions that have adopted the license represents the spectrum of the Carnegie classification. So we have small graduate professional schools such as Amherst and Williams, community colleges like Delaware County, online universities such as Purdue Global and Walden Universities, and large research-intensive institutions such as BYU, University of Vermont, and we also have the University of Texas system, which I mentioned earlier. And this list continues to grow as more institutions incorporate the license as part of their overall compliance strategy. And I'll just pause on that for a second, that this is what the license is. It's one part of a larger, more formal copyright compliance program that you have at your institution. And along with copyright education and making sure that people understand that the campus has a license, and we have lots of tools and resources to help you roll out and socialize the license across campus. This license is one part of your compliance program, an important part. So when you take on the license, we provide a dedicated CCC client engagement manager who is always at the ready to help you with any questions you may have about the license, about verifying coverage, about a publisher that you wish was in the license, or maybe there's a question as to, is this particular type of use, this very specific example covered? We can help you there. We also provide this annual copyright license resource center. It's a free online tool that gives you various tools and resources to help you roll out the license on campus, help you answer general copyright questions. There's a list of participating publishers there. If anybody's interested in that list, I can certainly share it after this session. So I just bring this up to show you that there's support for you once you're joined. We're all about making sure you're successful with the license, so helping onboard you in any way we can, whether that's a webinar where we walk through with you and your colleagues. We're happy to do it. On the next slide, I just wanted to call out our CCC education. Part of CCC's mission, of course, is to promote awareness of copyright in all aspects across universities and corporations. And so we have a great team that's put together a blend of certificate courses, free courses, webinars. We have a full library of resources. Copyright primers, sort of quick hits on the copyright essentials. What else? We have videos like Copyright on Campus, which is kind of a funny, cartoony, light feeling copyright on campus tutorial. And it's what's nice about it is it makes copyright accessible and fun to some extent. So yeah, so look to CCC education. You can see if you go to our website at copyright.com and click on the Learn section, you can see upcoming events. We have a Copyright in Academia 101 certificate course that you may be interested in taking. So feel free to please go check out that. We also have a blog called Velocity of Content, where you'll find interesting information around copyright, content use, a whole variety of topics we cover there. So I just want to provide just to sum up, really. I mentioned that the license provides campus-wide coverage, and that's huge. That goes from the classroom to administrators' offices, provides any satellite campuses you have abroad for distance education. We went through the administrative and cost savings and convenience, going from that one-off permissioning to just going to this check and go model. The license has a repertoire of millions of titles from thousands of publishers, and we're constantly expanding that. And it provides a powerful risk management tool for licensed institutions. If your institution is going through the accreditation or reaccreditation process, a key component is having a copyright compliance policy. How it's communicated through campus. So having the CCC license goes a long way in that effort. I wanted to just flash this one quote from a licensee at Louisville Presbyterian Theological Seminary. And I know you can read this, but the annual copyright license provides a clean and clear process for dealing with rights issues. That says a lot because copyright is complex. It's difficult to understand. This takes away that sort of mental, exercise of having to think about what you have rights to and what you don't. They also said that the faculty didn't panic, thinking they were going to have to spend a lot of time getting up to speed on how the license would work. And this is just one quote from one happy customer, but it's really telling. It's really telling about the value of the license. So I know you may have some questions. I'll give you a couple minutes to think about those and post them to the chat box. In the meantime, I wanted to hand things over quickly to my colleague, Madison Trembley, who's a licensing consultant at CCC. Madison would be your point of contact to get more information about the license or to adopt the license. So Madison, you want to just say hello?
Yes, hi everyone. As Robert just said, my name is Madison. I'm a licensing consultant here at CCC, helping colleges and universities manage those copyright permissions through the license for higher education that Robert has just kind of gone over today. So I really appreciate you all taking the time to attend and participate, especially with the start of the semester. I know things are very busy, but as you can see on the screen, I have my information up. So feel free to reach out to me if you would like to set up a custom session, get some more information. If you have questions you'd like to ask directly or want to explore the license and what it would look like at your institution, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'm going to pass it back over to Robert for some questions and to wrap it up.
Thanks, Madison. Yeah, oops, let me just advance the slide. Just one comment from someone that said, I liked the copyright on campus clips on YouTube, but I wish they could be embedded on LibGuides and other web pages used for educational purposes at my university. You absolutely can do that. You can post that to your intranet or your LibGuides for educational purposes. Absolutely, we encourage that. I'm just reading this question here. Does CCC add another layer to network signing, or does it exist in the background? I'm not entirely sure. You don't need to sign. I'm not sure I understand the question, but if you're referring to Find Academic, there's no login. It's just we just give you the link to the tool. If I didn't address that correctly, please let me know, and I can get back to you after the session. So why isn't interlibrary loan covered? So ILL borrowing permissions after you've exceeded the rule of 5 are not covered because that's considered external sharing, nor is document delivery covered for the same reason. Permissions for ILL borrowing and document delivery are available on Marketplace or applications such as Iliad. Let's see, can staff administration use the license as well, or is it just faculty? Everyone associated with the institution can share under the license with one exception, and that's alumni. I have a question here. Can you please explain that does not include any right to create a library, collection, or repository? The only more I can elaborate on that is you can't use it to substantially replace an existing subscription at the university or a collection or repository. That's pretty much the stipulation there. I'm happy to give you more information, more details on that particular note following this webcast. How do I stay legal and still use popular music and short videos about school programs? Well, we can't dispense any legal advice. I would recommend you ask your school's general counsel if you're able to do that. So some of these videos and music may have a Creative Commons license. There are various different types of Creative Commons licenses, but if they say you can use it, just give me attribution, that might be an avenue. But I would definitely check with your general counsel. Let's see. So typically CCC would live as an app or platform on a university website accessible with credentialed login. No, we host Find Academic. All we're going to do is just give you a URL that's not accessible anywhere else. We'll give you a URL, we'll establish an account for you, and then you can log in there. But it'll be specific to working with us, with CCC directly. Let's see. Is this routinely, again, is this referring to, I believe, Find Academic administered out of the library or centralized through IT? It wouldn't have to go through your IT or be administered out of the library. We would administer. We administer Find Academic. One question, only one person from the institution can use it. I'm again thinking Find Academic. No, I don't believe so, but I will get more information and confirmation for you on that. Oh, in other words, who is doing the searching for permissions? It really depends on your institution. So if the permissions process is sort of centralized with one person, which is kind of typical, or a group of people, that person would have access to right by the academic. It wouldn't be used by students or faculty typically. So yeah, it does depend on your institution's process, but typically it's a librarian. How do students benefit from this license? Well, lower costs for content materials and increased use of copyrighted content would be one. It's an all-you-can-eat license. I hate to use that sort of buffet term, but that's what it is. There's no limitations on content as long as that content is covered under the license. So you can load students up and make them read, and so yeah, but lower costs certainly. We're considering the license for course packets to lower costs for students. Right, great. Another question here is, what if a publisher isn't covered? I mentioned a little bit earlier that our team can work directly with those rights holders and try to get them to participate. Again, no promises, but we have these conversations all the time. Okay. Well, thanks for all these questions. It's great. So I'm not seeing any other questions come in now. We have a little time if you want to think of some more. But if you don't, you can always follow up with us after this webcast. Happy to help you get the answers that you need. But with that, I want to thank my colleague Madison and each of you for joining us today and taking some time out of your busy day to join us. We will send a recording of this session to everybody in the next day or so. So again, thanks again, and have a great day, everybody. Goodbye.